Hey guys, it's Brendan here with you again from Transcendence, a trans man's journey. Before we get too far into this video, I want to remind everyone that this is based on my opinion and my experience. So please don't make any decisions about your transition before consulting a medical professional and or a licensed therapist. Alright guys, I have made an election video earlier, and I'm not going to spend a good majority of this video talking about an election. I think we've heard it enough, but I just want to have this disclosure. I had a very good friend of mine who lived in Tennessee. He was walking home from a election watch party and was attacked and killed for being transgender. I'm not going to go into the graphic detail because no one needs to hear that. If you want to know specifics, please just contact me. But I say this because I am in a state of anxiety and honestly fear that I've never faced in my lifetime, and I will admit I have grown blind in safety, thinking that we have been progressing so much as a country that I didn't need to be so afraid, and I hope we can get back to that place. To be honest, I hope we don't have to think about it. But until we get there, brothers, please be safe. Please watch where you're going. Don't walk alone at night. And I'll get into more details about this as we continue the video, which this is about daily life as a pre-op trans person. And pre-op is pre-operation. This also works for pre-testosterone. Basically, pre-op or pre-T is trans people who have not undergone medical procedures or process to start their transition. And so I'm going to talk about that a good majority of this video. Here it goes. Alright, now that we've got that out of the way, I'm going to try to be as upbeat as possible and as informative as possible. Of course, guys, if you have any questions, please message me on my Facebook page, Transcendence and Trans Man's Journey. Or if you're on YouTube, you can go on ahead and ask me in the comments. And I will definitely get to you as soon as I can and answer you as best to my ability. Alright, so daily life. Okay, so you've decided, you have come to terms with the fact that you are transgender. Cool. You've decided to tell your family and your friends, whoever you're ready to tell. Now you're out. Now what do you do? And this is kind of an interesting period of where it's not very similar with everyone. Coming out stories and, they're all different, but they all have kind of similar themes, to some degree. This is where it is completely independent to you. There are people who they've come out, all right, they're ready to start transitioning, so they start looking for therapists, for doctors, endocrinologists who are your hormone doctors. They start looking all for that. And I was one of those people to some degree. I was already in therapy when I came out, and I loved my therapist. She was wonderful. But I decided to find a therapist that was had more experience with transgender patients, because she was incredibly loving, incredibly understanding, but I think I was her first transgender patient. So I wanted to get in contact with someone who has had the experience and give me the proper, what I felt like was the proper therapy, so I can start my medical transition. And so that helped a lot. And so I ended my therapy session a full year with her. So I ended in December, and then in January I started looking. It took a long time to find a therapist. I live in Oklahoma. So I did a lot of internet research, trying to find a therapist that had experience with transgender patients. Basically, what I kind of just looked up on the internet was gender therapist. And I just tried to find someone that accepted my insurance, that was in my price range, a lot of things like that. Just hoping I could find someone. And in April, I found a gender therapist in actually my hometown of all places. And I started going to him. And what's really important about therapy, at least for me, and I went and looked at therapy before I started looking medical transition. It's recommended that if you're over the age of 18, you have 3 to 6 months of therapy before you start medically transitioning. And I thought that was probably one of the best situations for me. So I went to him, and the cool thing about therapist is you don't always have to just talk about your transition, because there's a lot of things that come with being transgender that I feel like your average person doesn't realize, and even you won't realize until you start getting into the process. Transgender people have a very high depression rate and have one of the highest suicide rates. I hate to say that, but it is. I read a statistic that 1 in 4 transgender people have either thought about or attempted suicide, which that is a huge number. If you sit down and think about it, that's crazy. That so many people feel so isolated, it feels so scared, it feels so uncomfortable within themselves. And I am one of those 1 in 4, and it's heartbreaking. And that's why another reason why I'm making this video is to remind everyone that there are people out there that love you. There are people out there that are your friends and are there to be at your side when you need them most. And you're not alone. We are scared too, and we're depressed and we're hurt. But oh my gosh, I have never met a more powerful group of people than trans people. Like, we are brave and strong and independent, and some of the most self-aware people I've ever met in my life. Compassionate and loving and charming, and it's awesome. And I have not met a trans person that's not a complete dork. We're all really goofy for some reason. I don't know. Especially trans guys that I've met. We're all kind of just really goofy. And so, be yourself, be loving, and if you are contemplating hurting yourself, please get some help. Along with this video, I'm going to attach the Trans Lifeline, which is a nonprofit organization of people who have a phone system that you can call in when you are feeling depressed or suicidal. I've called into them. I will say, and they're great guys. They're all trans people out to help other trans people. So definitely I'm going to add that in the comments of this video. And if you guys ever need help, do not be afraid to get it. So, we've discussed what it's like when it gets really bad. Now, what if it's not really bad right this second? It's just you're not quite sure how to handle the whole bathroom situation. You don't know how to really present yourself as a guy. These are all questions that are incredibly normal. The first thing I will talk about the bathroom issue, which I know has been in the news quite a bit lately, and with the further election, I'm pretty sure it's going to be all over the news again. But as of right now, and I hope this at least is possible, if you are wanting to use the restroom that aligns with your gender identity, find a buddy. Find someone that and you're in a public place. Find someone that you're with pretty regularly that is cisgender of the gender bathroom you're wanting to go to, and bring that buddy. And it sounds really silly, trust me. I absolutely hate that I'm a 20-year-old man that has to ask someone to go to the bathroom with me, but it's for your safety. It's better to not go into a restroom by yourself if you're going into, if you're in the process of transitioning and going to the gender you are and are trying to appear as in the outside world. That's kind of what you gotta do for a little while. And that breaks my heart to say that. But find someone who is willing to be with you when you need them. My boyfriend was someone who did this even before we started dating. He was very much, if you're trans and you need somebody, I'm here. And so he has been really great with me. And that's probably my best advice for you right now. And then also family bathrooms, gender neutral bathrooms, things like that, where they're like a single stall locket, single toilet thing. Take advantage of those. Don't be afraid, if somebody needs to use it, they can use it after you're done. Just go in there, do your business, get out. I try to use those as often as I can, especially when I'm by myself. When I do go into the men's restroom with my boyfriend, I keep my head down, my mouth shut, go in, do my business, wash my hands, and get out. It's sad that I have to be that careful, but it's the safest place and the safest way to get in and out and just pee. Because let's be real, we just need to pee. So just do that. Just do your business and get out. So that's my best advice for you for the whole restroom issue, and that might change with time to come. Hopefully, we'll keep our fingers crossed. I do believe that there will be a time where we won't have to be so terrified to go pee. But until then, be safe out there. Alright, number 2, presenting yourself as a guy. Now, presenting yourself as a guy is kind of a sensitive thing because at the end of the day, you need to be you. You be comfortable what you're doing. And the cool thing that has kind of erupted is the idea of being your own man. You know, that we don't need to, you know, be like lumberjacks or whatever. You know, you can be, you know, a little have what is characterized as feminine traits, and it be okay. And it's kind of whatever works best for you. One of mine was I cut off all my hair, as you can see. I also dyed it, but that's just because green hair's cool. But I cut it real short. I wear mainly slightly bigger t-shirts, that so it's not as tight on my chest. And I'm going to start with top dysmorphia. Now, for those who don't know what dysmorphia is, I believe I discussed it in the last video, but just as a reminder, dysmorphia is the idea that your brain expects to see a certain image that's not necessarily there. Like when I go in the mirror, I expect to see a male body because I see myself as male and am shocked into the fact that there's not a male body. And so there are characteristics that cause it to be even worse and scarier, more uncomfortable, and that's where the idea of I was born in the wrong body kind of came from. That's not the best description. It's just kind of whatever works best for you kind of thing. Mine is I am a man, and I feel like I need to grow into a man. You know, there's an idea that my boyfriend brought up to me when I first came out is, you know, I am a man, I just need to grow a little bit. And that was really helpful to me, if you keep that perspective that, you know, I am a man, I just have to grow. That's all I'm doing is growing. And that kind of helps with the dysmorphia to a degree. But for more hands-on things to help with your dysmorphia, for top dysmorphia, that is basically you have dysmorphic ideas about your breast, which, thank God Almighty, I was born with very small breasts, so I actually don't have to do my dysmorphia is not very strong in my chest. So basically, for those who do have an issue, there are things you can do called binding. Now, if you have any experience with trans people whatsoever, you probably know what binding is to some degree. But basically what it is, it's a thing you wear that causes your chest to flatten to look less like less like breast and more like pecs. And you can buy binders online, which I bought mine at GC2B. That's all in lower, and the number, it's G, lowercase g, lowercase c, the number 2, lowercase b. And they had pretty decent priced binders that really work. They're safe. But basically what you do, it's kind of like a shirt with, I wish I had my binder on me, I don't. But basically it's kind of like a V-neck shirt that has compression here, here, and on your back. And basically what it does is it pushes inward so you flatten to a degree on your chest. And that sounds kind of scary, but if properly used and you get the proper size, then it's perfectly safe. Little binder tips for you. Go on GC2B. They have a measure guide on there, and they'll teach you how to measure yourself, or have a friend help you measure. So that's pretty cool. And basically all you do is you get your measurements and you order it online and it'll come in. Mine came in pretty quickly, like within a week, something like that. And basically what you do is you get your measurement, you can try it on, and it's gonna hurt a little bit. Not if it hurts to the point of like, oh my gosh, I can't breathe, I can't function. You got too small of a size, take it off. Don't hurt yourself. But it's gonna feel like uncomfortable at first. It's probably a better term for it. It's gonna be very tight and very compressed. It's not gonna feel very natural at first. And what you need to do is leave it on for like an hour at most. Take it off, breathe, relax. The next day, try 2 hours. Breathe, relax. Now, after you've gotten used to it and you've built up, if there are days where it's harder than others, maybe like you say you get on the day where you do 4 hours a day and 4 hours was kind of a lot, don't be afraid to do 4 hours again the next day. Do not advance until you're ready to. But never wear your binder for more than 8 hours a day. It could do damage to your rib cage, your lungs, your chest. It's not safe whatsoever. So please only bind up to 8 hours a day. And never sleep in your binders. I know, dysmorphia sucks at night, but please don't ever sleep in your binders. You've got to be safe, guys. But you're sitting here like, I can't afford a binder. I've looked at them. I don't know how to... Well, there are other solutions. And some other solutions is sports bras. I personally I only wear one. Just because like I said, I have been very much blessed with small breasts. But and one way to do it is wear one sports bra the average way, and then wear another one backwards to double it. So basically, and once you double it down, it will appear that pec-like flatness. So that is a cheaper alternative, and also an alternative if you're kind of more lounging around kind of thing, because your binder's not the best for just like chilling at your home watching movies kind of thing. At least it isn't for me, because I'm lazy. And side note, I know at least bigger trans guys like me, I'm overweight, and binders kind of freaked me out for a bit, because I'm like, what if it doesn't fit right? Well, with your shoulder and your chest, it does incorporate your weight into it. And if you say, hey, this doesn't fit, and you tell them what's going on, you can send it back and they'll send you a new one in the right size, free of charge. So that's pretty cool at GC2B. But my advice to you is, if you want to get the full shirt one, there's a very distinct possibility it'll ride up on you. I had that problem. What I did is I tucked it into my boxers and pulled my boxers and my jeans over it. That caused it to ride up less. Also, I've heard that if you just get the like half shirts, it's better for heavier people. I personally don't have one of those. I plan on trying to get one soon, but that is probably the best for top dysmorphia. Now, when it comes to bottom dysmorphia, this is where I struggle the most. Bottom dysmorphia is very uncomfortable, and for me, it gets to the point where you're like not even wanting to sit down. You kind of just want to cross your legs and hide it from the world, like you think that people are like terrified of your vajayjay. Like, no, like JJ. Did I really just say that? Anyway, your vagina. Like, literally, it's a very, it's an interesting way your thoughts work, that you're like terrified that other people are going to find out that you have one. And so you just need to protect it all the time. And it gets to the point where sitting, moving, bending certain ways, it's very apparent that it's there, at least for me. And it just gets really uncomfortable really fast. So there's a few ways you can fight bottom dysmorphia, but I'm personally still trying to figure those out because it is such an apparent thing with me. One thing I started doing was I started wearing boxers. That really helped for me, basically just feel more masculine in my dress. But I will have a little disclosure. It kind of sucks during your monthly, because if you use pads, because boxers aren't meant to hold pads like panties are. So I will say that is a little uncomfortable. But if you're a tampon user, it doesn't really matter much. I've heard different accounts that, tampons versus pads, whatever you're more comfortable with. But I know we all get a little dysmorphic around our monthlies. But this little kind of tidbit kind of helped me with the sense of you actually have your highest testosterone levels during your period. So there you go. You're actually the closest you are to being biologically male during your period. What a double-edged sword. Yeah. But there are little things that help during my monthlies that I find really great. My boyfriend actually will go in and buy my tampons for me, and he keeps them in his backpack, and we'll keep them like dashed in my car and stuff like that. And of course I have a couple in my pocket just to be safe during my monthly, but he carries them for me, and he keeps basically painkillers for it with him. And he is really helpful during that time period because I actually have really bad cramps in really heavy periods. So that he's there to kind of be a comfort and, help be pain relief, and whatever he can do to help is great. But I know that, at least for me, probably my most dysmorphic time is during my period. And I'm still trying to figure out ways to kind of fight dysmorphia on that. So if any of you have any ideas, definitely throw them my way, because I'm still struggling myself on that one. But like I said, boxers are a great way to kind of fight bottom dysmorphia. There are these things also called STPs, or stand to pee devices. Those are basically, they are silicone penises that you attach to your undergarments and through like kind of a harness kind of thing. And you can get them, and basically it's a way you can pee like in a urinal or things like that. There are also ones that you can put like a rod in and actually like have intercourse, which if you can't afford those, which I'm still looking at affording those myself, I'm going to Peacock Products to kind of figure that out. And yes, that's Peacock Products, which I thought was hysterical. But anyway, and I probably will do a video on their products later if I get it, kind of just to show if it's great or not. But until then, I basically, you can find strap-ons, which sadly, there's not very many like normal people sizes for those. You just kind of get what, if you are in a relationship, which is kind of one of the main reasons you'd buy a strap-on, at least in my opinion. Just consult with you and your partner on what works best for the both of you. And that's the best tip I have for intercourse. Side note, I'm sorry for all my family and friends that just had to hear about my sex life, but it's necessary. Cool. Um, so it's kind of just one of those things that you kind of have to look up for yourself to see what's the best options for you. And hopefully there will be more things to come up that kind of helps with our bottom dysmorphia. And if you ever have heard of Buck Angel, he is a transgender porn star. Which I know that sounds crazy, but he's actually, if you go and check out like his Facebook page and his Twitter and things like that, he's actually a really cool guy. And he created actually a sex toy for trans men. But so check that out too. Which I thought was really cool that he had something aimed at us. So definitely go check that out. But there are a lot of other things you kind of have to handle that you won't really think about until you kind of get presented with them. But those are some kind of just some basic tips on, oh, I almost forgot. I'm so sorry. But another thing is voice training. Voice training is helped me a lot to a degree because I naturally have a very high-pitched voice. And you're probably like, wait, you have a high-pitched voice now. What do you mean voice training? This is actually my regular voice. It's a lot higher pitched, but I have, see the difference, you know? This is actually starting to become a lot more natural because I've done it so much. But basically what it is I go on YouTube and look up voice training to